Welcome back to the Augusta Civic Center. For the first time this week, we've got a three-man booth. I'm Travis Barrett alongside Travis Lazarczyk and Drew Bonifant. We have just seen the Class C South boys semifinals. The early game was a good one. Halldale at number 3 minor upset. Waynfleet at number 2, 65-58. And then the late game and a blowout. Winthrop 68, Trape 25. First, the bad news. If you had Trape and 42 points tonight, you lost. I don't think anybody saw it being that easy, did we?
No. I don't even think Todd MacArthur, the Winthrop coach, thought it would be that easy. He was talking about how watching Trape on film, they just had so much speed and quickness, and they shot so well that he expected a close game. But to his team's credit, they had one of their best defensive efforts in years and completely locked down Trape's shooters.
Todd is kind of a worrywart, though.
True.
I think he'll be all right with me saying that. Drew, what did you think about Halldale tonight? How important a win is that?
I mean, it's a huge win, obviously, but it was a game where it didn't come easily in terms of Ash Nebbit was in foul trouble early on and had to sit the closing minutes of the second quarter and had to play with that kind of hanging over him in the second half. And you were thinking the whole time, if he doesn't figure out what's going on and if he picks these fouls and he were to foul out, they would be absolutely cooked. So it was, even though they had the lead throughout the second half, it constantly felt like they were walking that thin line. But they made the plays. Alec Byron had a terrific day. He shot 9 of 10 from the field and led the team in scoring with 23 points. Abbott had 8 of the. At one point, he scored 8 straight points in the second half to help Halldale kind of build some cushion. And we've been talking about those top 2 guys, but the depth players stepped up and made some big plays. Austin Stebbins and Josh Netto hitting big shots. So all impressive all-around effort from the Bulldogs. Just
quickly, other scores today. Class B boys, Maranacook, they fell to Cape Elizabeth 64-61 in a game that went right down to the wire, as the score would indicate. Class C South girls semifinals here today. The number 2 seed Winthrop is out. They lost to North Yarmouth 55-34. And in a game that would not be classified probably as a shocker, number 1 unbeaten Boothbay 55. Madison's run from the number 13 seed ends 55-23 to Boothbay. Anything jump out from those games, you guys?
The Maranacook game, we knew that this was going to be this tournament. It was going to be tough for them to go all the way through to the final, and that this round in particular would be a real serious test. That's a good Cape team. They have a Mr. Maine semifinalist, Andrew Hartel, and it's like you said, it came down to the wire. At one point, it looked like Cape was kind of off and running. They were up 10. Maranacook's they're a good shooting team, and they caught fire, got right back in the game, and they just couldn't find that last shot. So I gotta think it's tough for them to finish in this round after the season that they had, but it was an impressive season, and they one play away from being in the regional final.
Yeah. The girls today, I think I'm not surprised Winthrop lost. In fact, last night, Drew, I think you sort of predicted that North Yarmouth Academy was probably a little bit better than their seed indicated at number 3. But I think I am surprised at how easily North Yarmouth beat Winthrop.
Yeah, you certainly was surprised to see the margin that much. I felt pretty confident that NYA, with those Maine Girls Academy players now in the fold, was going to have the better end of this. But they really shut down everything Winthrop likes to do. They were the team that was playing tougher perimeter defense. They were the team that was getting more transition baskets. They rebounded really well. It was hard to find an area where Winthrop had the upper hand. And it's just, obviously it's tough to win a game when there are a few areas that you're leading in. They got it to 10. Look like they might be starting to kind of figure things out, but NYA had a quick run to counter that, and that was pretty much it.
I don't want to jump ahead of ourselves yet and preview the Class C South boys final, but Travis, let me ask you this: do you think how hard is it going to be to beat Winthrop after what you saw tonight?
Well, Halldale has a little more size than Trape did. How did they match up in the regular season? I don't remember
They played once, They played once, and Winthrop beat them.
No, well, Halldale won. It was Winthrop's only loss, and it was...
Sorry.
Halldale had had the edge all day long, and they pulled away. They maybe won by 8 or 10, something like that.
Yeah, so it's a close matchup. If Winthrop plays defense like they did tonight and gets out on Halldale's shooters, like Neto and Byron and Abbott and all of them, then it could be a longer night for the Bulldogs. But I expect another close game. I mean, these two teams know each other pretty well. This should be fun.
You weren't here last night, Travis. You didn't hear the story about after the Lawrence Coney game. We went over, and the first thing Jason Pellerin said was, "Are you guys that predicted us to lose by 20 points tonight?" So, having said that, I realize that I'm happy to wear the hat of the guy that crushes hopes and dreams. Here's what I saw tonight out of Winthrop and Halldale. Here's the fatal flaws of both teams. This is how each team's going to lose. Halldale. Really, they all play their roles, but they're such a two-horse team. If Abbott and Byron don't get around 20 points, they're in trouble. I don't see anybody else there that's going to, when they're down, is going to pick them up and score 17 or 18. I think Winthrop has that. I think what's going to beat Winthrop, if they end up losing in that final, is in that first half before they really got going, they throw the ball away a lot. A lot of silly turnovers. Even against an undersized Trape team, if I go back and look at my first quarter notes, Trape Academy had an edge in offensive rebounds in the first quarter.
Yeah,
so,
Trape hustled them in the first 4 minutes of the game.
I think what you can't do if you're Winthrop is start slow and be sloppy, because I think Halldale, while they might not have the depth on their roster, I think they're disciplined enough that if you make those mistakes, they're going to take advantage of that. And so there's my fatal flaws with Halldale and Winthrop.
And they have the talent to go with that tenacity and everything. I mean, MacArthur was even saying after the game, he concedes they're going to have the top two guys. He said it's all about us having the best 3 through 10.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think Halldale kind of maybe not completely did away with those questions, but answered them to a degree, because this was a game where Abbott was limited both by the foul trouble and by Wainfleet's game. And if I'm MacArthur, I'm looking at a video of this game because I thought Wainfleet came up with a really good plan to limit him. He had a lot of tough looks. He wasn't able to get to the basket as much as he normally is. Had to take a lot of off-balance shots. And really, if Wainfleet keeps their composure and deals with the fouls that they're racking up a little better, I think this might be looking at a different outcome here.
I thought Abbott made a great play in the fourth quarter where he was right down here in front of us at this end of the floor. He missed a three and almost in one motion jumped, grabbed his own rebound and put it in. And it was just, I mean, that's where Halldale gets you, right? They're so tenacious.
Him in particular, he has two things when it comes to rebounding that he does so well. There's that. He follows his shot very well, and he rebounds with one hand so much. And I remember talking to Ranzo last year. He said the reason that he's focused on that is because you can get more reach with one hand than with two. And so you can get balls he wouldn't otherwise be able to get. And so, he's really kind of mastered the art of rebounding, not just the natural talent of being tall out there, and it showed today.
You made a good point, though, during the game about I think I just totally lost my train of thought. It must be Thursday already, right? Yeah. It's Thursday late.
Already?
Last I checked.
Yeah. I had a total train of thought there about Winthrop and Halldale, and I totally blew it. It doesn't matter. We're going to move on. I just want one sentence on this. Is Boothbay a walkaway winner over North Yarmouth in the Class C South Girls Final, or is that game going to be close?
I think it might be close for a little while, but I think Boothbay pulls away. Okay. Looked like the Blevin sisters today really kind of figured things out, kind of dominated that game. And after the game, talking to their coach, Brian Blevin, was saying, look, we know we got a scare from St. Dom's, so we wanted to make a point that today that we're going to play our game. And I think they'll continue doing that.
Speaking of scares, I remember what I was going to say. I think, Drew, you pointed out during the Halldale-Winthrop game that if there's any other thing we can draw from those two games tonight, it's that Halldale was much more severely tested than Winthrop was. Mm-hmm. And that would make me a little bit leery of Winthrop. They have not really been put to the test here in this tournament.
No, I mean, Dirigo really just didn't have the horses to keep up with them. And Trape, I thought they would. I thought this was going to be I was comfortable and confident that Winthrop was going to win this game, but I thought it was going to be a test. Yeah. I mean, Trape took Halldale to the wire last year, and I thought they were a better team and everything. But yeah, the fact is Winthrop really hasn't been tested in their two games here, and Halldale has. Yeah. Not by Monmouth, that was a runaway, but this game tonight, that was a Wainfleet team that Byron said it after the game. A lot of people had them pegged as winning that region, and so they really had to dig deep to win this one, and that's only going to help going forward.
All right, we're going to look ahead here a little bit. We're going to look at it tomorrow first, but Travis, while you're here, I want to ask you about, because I have a feeling it's going to get lost in the shuffle tomorrow. Class B North Girls Regional Final. Oh my God! You can tell it's late.
Mount Desert Island.
They're playing. Somebody's playing. We know that. Waterville's playing MDI. How do we like Waterville in that one?
I like Waterville in that one. I think they've kind of come through a couple tests there. They came back from behind against the John Baptist team in the quarterfinals, and then came back from behind in the semis.
Yeah.
So I think they've kind of been tested. They're young, only one senior on the team, but I think they're ready. I think they're not going to be intimidated by MDI. I know MDI had to come from behind to beat Winslow in an overtime game in their semifinal game, so they're tested too.
So Waterville's formula has been the same as it was in the regular season, correct? I mean, they just play defense, they defend the entire floor, and they make it really tough for other teams.
Yeah, they defend the entire floor. They press, they swing the ball around. They have a couple different scorers, and Sadie Garling and Jada Murray and Maddie Martin. And,
yeah.
Do you get the sense that Waterville's feeling or playing some sort of underdog card or have an underdog feeling? I mean, they have an undefeated.
It's hard to be undefeated when you're an underdog when you're 20-0,
right.
But they were the third seed,
exactly.
I think so.
Yeah, so and I wonder if kind of a newcomer to this field, especially when you're looking at a defending champion there and a one seed in MDI. We were talking about that yesterday. It was just a hypothetical. We were wondering, but I didn't know if you got that sense from any of the players.
Yeah, I think they did. They had to. If they win it, they got to go through number 1 MDI, and they just beat number 2 Herman. So they'll certainly, be able to play the underdog card as far as they go.
I get a sense they're quietly confident, though. They kind of just believe.
It's hard to not be confident when you're 20-0.
Yeah, when you don't lose, that's a nice little thing to have in your back pocket. All right, let's get to here at the Augusta Civic Center Friday night. I am not going to screw this up, I promise. Girls Class A North Regional Final will be first tomorrow night. Number 1 versus number 2. Skowhegan versus Hamden. I don't know. I think it boils down to the play in the center of the court with Bailey Donovan and Annie Cook, and I just think, as good as Bailey Donovan's been this year, I just think Annie Cook's a different kind of player that she's going to have trouble with.
Yeah, I think Skowhegan has the legs to run Hamden off the court if they want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it does feel like if Hamden does win this game, we're going to be looking at a monster stat line from Bailey Donovan, and it's just going to come down to that. If they win, it's just going to be because they had no answer for her. But if Annie Cook, who's a really good post player in her own right, can limit what she can do, you got to think that Hamden really kind of loses that shot to win the game.
Yeah, I think subplot too is that I think Skowhegan's guards are much better than Hamden's guards, and I think Hamden's guards are going to struggle a little bit when they start seeing some of the pressure Skowhegan throws at them.
And nobody has a 6-man like Skowhegan has in J.C. Christopher.
That's true.
Who would start for every other team in this region, if not the state.
Yeah. So then the boys' final will be after that. Number 4, Lawrence. Number 7, Skowhegan. We all called this one, right? This is the matchup we all predicted.
Yeah.
I was asked today if I knew of another regional final that had like a combined, lowest seeds like this, and I can't think of one off the top of my head. I really can't.
But all year long, everybody said A North was open. I know you wrote a story about it a couple of weeks ago about how wide open and the parity. This is proof, right?
Proven true, yeah.
What do we think?
They split in the regular season, I think, right? I don't know. Each team's got one senior who's just kind of taking the team on their back in the playoffs. For, Kobe Neto at Lawrence and Marcus Christopher at Skowhegan, and which guy can wring the most out of his teammates in this one game.
I'm going to play that depth card. I'm going to say Lawrence gets the upper hand just because they have more. If you think Neto and Christopher are kind of a wash, I think Lawrence has more left over to win that game. We talked about it yesterday, but I was just so impressed with how Lawrence played in that game against Coney. Not just that they got off to a fast start and that they were playing well early, but that even when it looked like Coney was about to make their run, they kept having a response. It just looks like a team that's really, really tough to bump out of this thing.
I think one thing about Skowhegan, and I think we make this mistake, all of us make this mistake late in the year, is that we look at teams and we go, well, they're this or they're that. And I think that over the course of 3 or 4 months of a season, teams change, and I think that's what's happening with Skowhegan. I think they've got kids playing really well right now that they never would have envisioned would be carrying these kind of roles for them, and I think it's all kind of clicking. I made a mistake of suggesting Coney would beat Lawrence by 20. I'm not going to make a mistake again. I'm not going to make a prediction on this game. I'm playing it neutral, but I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a huge crowd in here tomorrow night. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think we all need to get some rest.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We all in agreement on that?
I think so.
So
You're
we'll be
here.
back here tomorrow night. We'll do it again. Thanks for joining us. CentralMaine.com, as always, tournament coverage. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and we will be back at the Augusta Civic Center tomorrow night to wrap up the Class A North Championship games. Thanks for listening.